Hello and welcome to another video by me as part of IAFTT. It's about football this time. This week I kind of want to have a look at what's been going on in the Champions League. The first match day took place earlier this week. All teams have played and there's been some interesting results, so I kind of want to just take a quick look through it. For the time being though, I want to have a look at Group A, not because it's Bayern's group, but actually just because it's the first one. It's fairly clear at this point that Bayern haven't really let up from the energy that they were playing at last season. Of course, last season only finished like a couple of days ago, really. But for the most part, this Bayern team is virtually unchanged. You would think that losing somebody with that sort of metronomic ability to dictate play like Thiago would kind of have like a big factor in the way that Bayern are playing. It's not the case. Things are looking exactly the same. It's kind of a little bit shaky at times, like the way that Hansi Flick is still keeping David Alaba in defence, specifically in the middle of defence. I think that kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. But he's the manager, he's just come off of winning a treble, so I'm not really willing to question it too much. On top of winning a treble, he's also just beaten Atletico Madrid 4-0. Beating Atletico Madrid and scoring against them is impressive enough. Doing it 4 times without conceding, that's pretty big. So it's fairly safe to say that Bayern are favourites for this group. It's probably a fairly safe bet to say that they'll probably go undefeated again. They haven't lost since they played Liverpool in the season before last. So they won every single game that they played last season. And I've realised that it's only been 1 game so far, but it does really look like that they're just going to continue that. Atletico are a team that would probably be seen as favourites to come at least second, maybe third at an absolute push. But the way that they were playing against Bayern really shows that they're kind of lacking some form of like killer instinct up top. They've got guys like Luis Suarez now, who's come from Barcelona. And domestically he was doing fine, so he got 2 goals and I think an assist in his first game for them, and has otherwise looked fine. Like he's looked like a fairly reasonable purchase for them. But when it comes to how they've played in Europe this one match, there's clearly something that is going to be like a difference maker between them and another team. So to compare them to how they play against Bayern are incredibly fast. They've got guys like Coman, Costa, Sane and Gnabry, and then even guys like Joshua Kimmich and Leon Goretzka. These people can move. And then even further down you've got David Alaba, Hernandez, Alphonso Davies. This is a very quick team, very powerful. And so if Atletico don't have anything like that up top, like João Felix isn't slow, he's definitely not slow, but compared to somebody like Kingsley Coman, there is a clear difference there. As for Luis Suarez, you can see that at one point this guy would have been comfortable playing anywhere across the front 3 or in a front 2 or wherever, but he's clearly not as physically with it as he used to be, which is understandable. He's 33 at this point, I think. So the fact that he's lost a yard of pace or several yards of pace isn't surprising. But outside of that, there's very little. Koke and Sal wasn't in the squad, but they're players that can play out wide, but the way that they do that is much more about technical ability rather than the ability to knock the ball past the player and then chase it. Atletico have never really played with wingers, which is one of the reasons why guys like Thomas Lemar have struggled when they were there, and also guys like Gelson Martins when he went to Atletico Madrid for some unknown reason. Elsewhere in Group A, Red Bull Salzburg played Lokomotiv Moscow. They drew 2-2. Salzburg are a team that I think could maybe finish second if Atletico don't. I think that the first position's decided, and I think the 4th position's decided as well. I can't really envisage Moscow going too far or really getting results against any team at this point. Their team's very old. They've got experience. They've got guys like Eder, who of course won the Euros almost single-handedly for Portugal, Gregor Krychowiak, who was at PSG. Like, they've got players that can play football, but the fact is that they've also not really got anything else, because even guys like Eder, lovely though he may be, isn't the sort of player that you need leading the line. You need talent around him. The fact that they were able to get a second goal against Salzburg is impressive, but I don't think it's anything to really read too much into. And Salzburg are, of course, becoming something of like an institution of football, of being the hub where the most talented players come from. While Salzburg do have that connection with RB Leipzig, where you get guys like Marcel Sabitzer, Deo Upamecano, you get all of these guys that come through one team and then they get shipped to the other one and then go elsewhere. Sabitzer's still there. It can't be denied that the players that come from Salzburg are phenomenal talents. So Marcel Sabitzer, of course, Naby Keita, who's now at Liverpool, Sadio Mane used to play for Salzburg, Erling Haaland last year, Takumi Minamino, also at Liverpool. Like, they've got fantastic players constantly coming through. And so the question remains, who's next? Who's the next person to come through? And it's become fairly apparent already that the next big thing to come from Salzburg is the guy that actually got their first goal, Dominik Szoboszlai. Probably not pronouncing that right, so we're just going to call him Big Dom from Hungary. Big Dom from Hungary is an incredibly versatile and creative player. Typically plays on the left side of midfield. Jesse Marsch typically lines up in a 4-4-2. And so he plays as a left midfielder, left winger, and he can pretty much do anything on the pitch. He's really shown this fantastic versatility and creativity out wide, but he can also play through the middle. He can get assists, he can score. He has very much become one of the hottest properties in maybe like the most dangerous player in the Austrian league. And he's 19 years old. This is a guy that is a phenomenal talent and will almost definitely be the next person to go. As for Bayern, they pretty much picked up where they left off, almost identically. Bayern's first goal this Champions League season was a goal by Kingsley Coman, assisted by Joshua Kimmich. The goal that won the Champions League was a Kingsley Coman goal, assisted by Joshua Kimmich. They are moving beyond that era of Robben and Ribéry, where they can look at the young guys and say, okay, these guys are capable of doing it. Okay, like mid-20s isn't young anymore, but these are guys that they've trusted for a very long time. They both came in 2015, I think. And so to see them like start to establish themselves as like important players for the team, it must just be a huge sigh of relief for the people in charge at Bayern. As for Koeman himself, I can really only speak as a fan and somebody that's seen him like week in, week out. This was without doubt the best game that he's ever played for Bayern. His biggest moment for Bayern up until the Champions League final was very much in his first season against Juventus. But it's between then and the Champions League final that he's not really progressed at all. I think he's incredibly gifted. Like, he's clearly got something there. Like, he's incredibly fit. He's incredibly fast when he's fit. He can be a fantastic dribbler. He can put in a good cross. He can score. The problem is that he always seems to struggle to put all of these things together into one fantastic bundle, because he's got the speed of like an Olympic sprinter. If he can pick out a cross, he's like, that's another really useful asset to have. And having goals come from the wings as well, not just through Lewandowski, because there was a time recently where Bayern were quite reliant on him to score. So the fact that he can also offer a goal threat, incredibly useful. But it's really only until quite recently that's been the case for Koeman. The goal in the Champions League final, of course, the fact that he was able to like start Bayern's goal scoring in last season's Champions League as well, that's pretty good. But this was a game where we really saw exactly what he could do. He was running circles around Kieran Trippier. Maybe that's not the hardest job in the world, but he was skillful, he was agile, he didn't take too many like bad touches, because sometimes when he has a lot of space in front of him, he doesn't really utilise his speed. If anything, he'll like turn and he'll slow down play and he'll look for a simpler pass. It's like he can't really run that fast with the ball, he's better off it. But the way that he played against Atletico earlier this week, fantastic, almost a flawless performance. And so if he can keep that up, and this is something that most Bayern fans have said for a very long time, if he can keep this up, Bayern are one of the scariest teams around. And obviously I am going to be biased, but I really don't think it's too much of a shout to say that they have some of the best attacking options in the world. So if Kingsley Coman's on fire, that's fantastic. Leroy Sané, Serge Gnabry, Douglas Costa's back. These are exciting players, At the top of their game, these are players that are just unbelievable difference makers. All of them serving Lewandowski or doing their own thing. Muller behind it. Creativity from Joshua Kimmich. You've got Alphonso Davies. This is a team that is highly unlikely to be stopped. However, with Kingsley Coman, he does need to keep it up, and he needs to stay fit, because this was one of the big decisions that he was facing last season. He was having this discussion where he was thinking, am I going to be able to recover from this injury? Because he's had so many problems with his knees. Am I going to be able to recover from this? If I can't, then maybe it's time that I look beyond that. As a Bayern fan, it's immensely sad because it brings back memories of like Sebastian Deisler saying, football isn't for me, clearly, which is a shame to see somebody with so much talent think that they're not good enough. It's heartbreaking. But if Kingsley Coman can't do it and he does go somewhere else, then there's every possibility that Bayern will be looking for a wide player, particularly one from the left who can be creative and exciting. I don't know who that would be though.